Okay, sweethearts, how's everybody doing? Today's date is April 7th, 2021, San Diego, California. And right now I'm just sitting here making a video. This is actually a test video because I bought a memory card that will go into, that goes into the phone. It's already in the phone actually. And then what I'll be doing is making videos that get saved on the memory card, and then it goes right to YouTube because Periscope stopped broadcasting. Okay? Now, make sure when you watch this video, because it's going to be uploaded to YouTube, so make sure when you watch this video, you always look in the descriptions of the YouTube videos for pasted links, in which a lot of those will have evidences incorporated within them. I am tape recording my statements on a running recording digital tape recorder, so because I have endured a lot of video editing, okay, and even video erasing throughout the years, concerning my phones being hacked and even computers being hacked. Videos that I tried to make and videos that were uploaded through my computer to YouTube. Go to Google and type these descriptions into gang stalking. Now, this crime made me homeless from 4 apartments in Michigan and 1 in Tennessee. So, I'm not going to go into all that because then I get, there's just too many details. I'm going to stay online concerning the subject matter. Now, so just Google my descriptions. I mean, they're doing this to they're actually doing it to hundreds of thousands of victims all over America, and tens of thousands of those are online exposing what they endure through this demonic crime. So, all right, hold on a second. Let me get my Sprite, because I just left Domino's. And, finish drinking it while it's cool. Let's see if anybody bothers me when I'm sitting here for any reason. That means approaching me. I don't give a shit. If they just ask me if I know what time it is, if they ask me if I know what time it is, if they ask me whatever, because one of the things that's going on in gang stalking crimes is where they will intentionally prop up people along your path, not just to employ the sensitization technique and the direct conversation method and DNLP, but to also prop up color coding. So you can just maybe take a look at this video and say to yourself, maybe I should research the color red to gang stalking. Now, I'm not saying that individual is intentionally propped up intentionally for color coding, but what I am saying is you can Google it. Because a clever way to make a person feel stalked concerning gang stalking, concerning a part of what they do, is sensitizing the victims to certain stimuli and then just constantly propping them up where the victim goes. They know the victim's going to recognize it because any human being can be sensitized to anything because of the extreme repetition that goes on in gang stalking. It means that they engage in massive behaviors to make sure that the victim notices what they've been sensitized to, whether it be a sound, a word, phrase, statement, or color coding or physical gestures. So just research the sensitization method extensively. And it's a clever way to remind you you're a continued victim of the crime as a direct result of how often you're literally being forced to witness what's propped up around you concerning you. And this is only 20% of the crime. But the sensitization method is directly connected to the massive brain entrainment. And the only reason why brain entrainment is going on in gang stalking crimes is because of remote neural monitoring. So remember, Google all my statements, baby cake, sweethearts, and munchkin butts. Let's move forward. So now I brought up the statement about me being homeless. You think about it. You know how much it costs to rent an apartment, right? You got to pay first month's rent, last month's rent, sometimes even a security deposit. Cost of getting utilities hooked up, the cost of moving, eating out while you're moving. Moving is not inexpensive. Okay. Even if you well plan for it, it can still be somewhat expensive. All right. So why continue to get apartments and pay all that money? Not just in moving in, but once they create the homelessness of you again, you got to spend money to move out when they will just make you homeless again from that very same apartment. Okay, so you need to research how the fact that they're creating the homelessness of victims all over America, and then after the victim's homeless, they start using that against the victim. That's where corrupt, lying, organized crime cops come into play at. Stage probable cause at wooded areas and homeless shelters and everywhere. So staged events and gang stalking are called street theaters. Now I wanted to kind of interject those general statements about this crime in this video So first-time viewers will be able to know what immediately to look up on the internet, so they can maybe get a better understanding of why I expose additional things in the video. So I wanted to bring those things to your attention. Now, gang stalking, the gang of gang stalking, is where they use one or more persons. And even if they had one person walk up to me anywhere along my routes, walking routes, bike routes, bus stops, bus routes, inside or outside of any store, even if it's just one person that's being used against me and or my property, which includes my brand new bike, okay, that's got a front bike rack on it, a back bike rack on it, I got bike pannier bags that go on it, saddle bags, and so on and so forth. Even if it's just one person used for any type of staged event, you got to remember that one person is colluding privately with another one, which massively exposes felonies. I'm sorry, which massively exposes conspiracy. And in California, if you conspire with anyone, okay, to commit a misdemeanor, that now becomes a felony. Okay? So whenever conspiracy is involved in the implementation of a misdemeanor, it becomes a felony immediately. Okay? So gang stalking and these 6 satanic mass murdering, human trafficking, torturing, murdering, raping, gang raping animals who are hosting this crime, hold on, they know exactly what they're doing. And you would not believe the amount of people that can be used against one victim, especially if that victim were the host of the crime. If one of their main goals against that particular victim is visual and auditory brain entrainment, that victim will be fucking bombarded with massive community-based harassment, where they're literally using the community through lies and slander and fake bogus criminal investigation files and much more, okay, to the perpetrators lie to the people they use, and the people are just told, you know, where to go at, and they'll be shown a picture of the victim, and then where the victim's at, and then they'll just be told to get around the victim and do things around them. And what they're told to do around them are the sensitization method, the direct conversation method, DNLP, and then sometimes they'll stage an event directly towards the victim. And when they stage events, they can absolutely use more than one person. Again, another example of the gang of gang stalking. They'll even stage the witnesses. And that includes fucking using the business community on a massive scale. So go to Google and type in the description of any 20 types of businesses. Now, when I say types, I mean phone stores, banks, post offices, libraries. Well, that library ain't really a business. So, coffee shops, grocery stores, you name it. Now type the name of those descriptions of the types of businesses to gang stalking, and your mind's going to be blown, including universities, including libraries, including banks, post offices, homeless shelters, the whole 9 yards. Then go to Google and type in at Google the names of specific businesses. Anyone at any time can feel free to type in Starbucks and gang stalking, and Kroger's and gang stalking, and Albertsons and gang stalking. Baby cakes and sweethearts, I'm here to educate you concerning this demonic, criminally insane crime. Okay, that is a literal epidemic in America going on in every single neighborhood, town, city, county, and state. And this crime is responsible for the most extreme human rights abuses that the human family has ever experienced in the entire history of the human family. Literally, scientists, doctors, researchers, ex-alphabet agency personnel are saying it, ex-military agency personnel are saying it, and tens of thousands of victims are saying it. Because when you research the electromagnetic weapons torture, okay, and murder that's going on through the same technology, you're gonna start to understand. Now, this sick demonic government that's the main implicated host of this crime, as well as all intelligence agencies, the United States military, and all state, county, and local law enforcement, all law enforcement is implicated, as well as first responders. So what you gotta understand about this crime is that these little satanic bitches who are hosting it, they're able to get away with it because they are perpetrating a program that is being perpetrated through the system at all levels. The police, all federal and state, county, and local cops. Hold on. Okay. All government agencies are involved in it. All states' governors and district attorneys and state attorney generals allow it. Okay. And so just research my description. So, and it's massively as well connected to all judicial processes. Okay, including private lawyers, district attorneys, public defenders, judges. So, do you really honestly believe with this type of sick bullshit that's going on, where these satanic, demented animals who are hosting it, who are just basically operating as an up and operating nationwide organized crime syndicate in its perpetration and its connected partners, then we can see, think about it. If you get robbed, where would you go? You go to the police. And then you would expect the police to engage in some type of investigation, right? Then through that investigation, as long as it's uncorrupted, that person might be caught, then prosecuted, then put in jail. Well, if you're a gang stalking victim, they can do anything and everything to you. Rape you, set you up for multiple assaults, rob you, okay? Accuse you of anything, anywhere, at any time, because they also stage the witnesses. And then therefore, you are going to jail, but they will never investigate one crime against the gang stalking victim. Not fucking one. So when you hear me repeatedly always expose law enforcement in my videos, in my blogs, in my Periscope videos that have already been made, in my YouTube videos, it's not because I'm a cop hater. Hey, look, I look at it this way. If you're a good cop doing a good job, hey, more power to you, buddy. I respect you for that. But you understand this is a program that controls all cops, and cops are also massively involved. And gang stalking, there's so much massively involved in gang stalking, it's extremely easy for them to be able to commit a crime against the victim and even use the victim against themselves, like with voice to skull with voice morphine, remote neural monitoring, influencing, remote neural monitoring in itself, ultrasonic sound bone conduction. You need to research this crime ASAP. Now, go to Google and type in Everyday Concerned Citizens Neural Weaponry Romola D. Her name is spelled R-A-M-O-L-A. Now, one of the reasons why I occasionally include her in my exposures is because, oh, and by the way, I've made massive amounts of Periscope videos dedicated to 5 separate Periscope accounts that show me, say, go to your Romola D Reports YouTube channel and watch some videos so you can, see what they're exposing, and eventually you'll see how my statements can correlate and possibly correlate into what they're exposing as well. Well, it appears that Romola D's YouTube channel has been wiped. So you can go to YouTube and type in Dr. Catherine Horton, Techno Crime Fighters. That's the name of a playlist, and that's the name of her YouTube channel. And hopefully that playlist will continue to stay on her channel as well. You definitely want to look at episode number 58 within the Techno Crime Fighters playlist. So let me move forward, baby cakes and munchkin butts. So now, I wanted to bring these things to your attention that I've already stated so far in this video because you need to know them. Always remember, fellow viewers who are longtime viewers, people who are supporting me at least by, staying attentive to my exposures. If I get arrested at any fucking wooded area, if I get assaulted, robbed, raped, if I go missing, understand and always know I will never, ever, ever leave San Diego County by and through my own choice, my own personal choice, until the satanic maggots who've done every single thing I've endured in San Diego get arrested, convicted, and put in jail. So that means I will never leave San Diego. Now, if you honestly think that the system can't track you to a wooded area and set you up by using buffers between the victims and the cops, think fucking again. In fact, they can even do things to provoke the victim to call the cops. Okay? Which just happened a few nights ago. So let me get into that exposure. Okay, so let me, the main purpose of this video was to make the video so I can make sure that it gets uploaded to YouTube, because I just bought the memory card and put it in the phone, and that was the purpose of buying the memory card. Now, so let me explain to you what happened on, now we all know that once it gets to be 12 a.m. at night, the next day starts, the next calendar day starts. So on the, while it was still April 2nd, 2021, they were already propping up people directly around a road that was right off of a wooded area that I was utilizing, right? And then as it started to get dark out, they then started bringing people up more on the property in order so that they could do things for me to hear. Now, this is done for fear injection and stress conditioning. Now, you should also go to Google and type in Brian 2 TEW ex-DOD contractor electronic harassment. Watch all of his videos and read everything on his blogs. And you should also type in at Google Dr. Eric Karlstrom, The Two Hypothesis. Again, his last name is spelled T-E-W. And extensively read it, because the harassment is about brain entrainment and exciting the brain's responses to the harassment and the staged events. Now, once they can nearly hack you as a result of them locking onto you through remote monitoring, and they are able to hack you by latching onto the brain after the brain has been excited to notice something. That's what the sensitization and the stimuli are all about. Sensitizing you to something, creating a negative correlation to it, buying through the harassment, buying through assaults and shit like that. and then repeating the acts because they know the victim's brain is going to retrieve that the person that's in their physical environment right now is doing something that's been done before. Therefore, the brain excites a response, remote neural monitoring latches onto you, then it can influence you. Okay? So, but you should also know that many victims of this crime, hold on a second. It's also widely reported on the internet that, and you can remember, Google all my statements. It's also widely reported that gang stalking victims can have a whole host of implants in them. Brain implants, ear implants, eye lens implants, the whole 9 yards. So even if they cannot excite a response from you by propping something up in the community to force you to see it and or hear it in order to excite the response, they can send something to the ear implant, which then causes the audio cortex to hear it. That then will cause the brain to excite a response. So a person doesn't even have to be in your environment for them to be able to excite a response for remote neural monitoring to latch onto it. So research all my statements. Now, brain entrainment and heterodyning what's entrained. Okay, identifying the frequency connected to the entrained pathway and neural network. This is all over the fucking internet. So you should also go to Google and type in Dr. Robert Duncan, ex-CIA scientist, Dr. Robert Duncan, The Matrix Deciphered. He's got YouTube videos online as well. And you should also go to YouTube and type in Dr. John Hall, Satellite Terrorism. And you should also know, if you watch a lot of videos of Dr. John Hall, you're going to hear him state that the local psychiatrists probably don't know what's going on. They do. Why he said that? Probably because they don't know. So always remember, just go to Google and type in, again, Google all my statements. So research hospitals, medical centers, medical clinics, psychiatrists, psychologists, even private psychologists can be approached by these demonic rats, probably from the federal level, in order to intentionally collude with them, in order to have that psychiatrist intentionally falsely diagnose the victim with mental diagnoses that they don't have. That's used for a bunch of eventual illegal probate control schemes against the victims, and it's also done to discredit them on paper, so nothing that comes out of their mouth will be perceived as truth. Because you got to understand, there's a lot of gaslighting going on in gang stalking. Absolutely. Okay? How the fuck are you going to prove that you were neurally influenced to do something? Okay? How the hell are you going to prove that? Alright? You should also go to Google and type in voice to skull with voice morphine. If they can send because when you research at Google, gang stalking, your thoughts are no longer your own, what do you think that means? That means that voice to skull with voice morphine is being used on the victim. Now that means that they can put an idea in your head, through an ear implant or not, using voice to skull, in your voice print. So they can put an idea in your audio cortex and you end up perceiving it as a thought. Well, let's go to the restaurant bar and have a couple drinks and a pizza. You go to the bar and then they serve you this drink that's really great tasting. And then they can continue to use that tech so that you'll keep drinking. All right? Then you leave the bar or restaurant and you get pulled over by a cop and arrested for a DUI. So you should extensively research how much money they're making off of first time and repeated DUI arrest. Oh yeah, that's a money-making machine, baby cakes, sweethearts, and munchkin butts. So do you honestly fucking think that state, county, and local governments are not going to fucking protect a massive money-making machine using these types of technologies and deceit through it? Absolutely. How the victim's ever going to know? Because the victim's going to believe it was their own thought to go do it. And to continue to do it. Okay? They can even trick you into making the choice to leave at 9 o'clock because the syndicated cop is now he's now at work and in the neighborhood. So do you really believe that SDPD, if they know anything about this, which I already know they do, they'll lie about it and call you crazy concerning it? All police departments are involved in this shit. Because it's a money-making machine. This is just one avenue of revenue for these filthy whores. Absolutely. Okay? Cops don't give a flying fuck about if you exist. They don't give a fuck if you get raped, gang raped, assaulted, robbed, human trafficking, tortured. They don't care at all. At all. And neither does the DOJ and all these law enforcement at the federal level. And all of them are massively implicated to be the host of the crime. So you really think I give a flying shit what any law enforcement says about me? Miss Williams, are you delusional? Miss Williams, are you crazy? Are you bipolar? Are you schizophrenic? Are you crazy? Google those descriptions to gang stalking and false diagnoses. See, it's my job as a human being, as a woman, as a Christian, to inform my communities that I live in, communities that are literally being used against me for the community-based gang stalking, to inform you so you can research what I state to make educated choices so you know what to look out for. Because these satanic fucking bitches are everywhere, and they'll use anybody and everybody. They literally will prop up kids around your house to have the kids yell shit you've been sensitized to. That is literally how bad this crime is. Now, you should also know they isolate victims, so they can set up any type of staged event, use the victim against themselves, including through neural weaponry, arrest the victim, put them in jail or a psychiatric ward, and how are you going to know whatever happened? That's another thing they massively count on, so research isolation and gang stalking. So let me just tell you real fast what happened during a staged event that happened. Remember now, it started on the early evening to mid-evening and late evening of April 2nd, 2021. Now, that's just a few days ago. It's now April 7th. Now, so they were tenderizing me for the eventual event by forcing my brain to notice the props that were propped up after dark. I mean, think about it. Even if you're just a regular person who's not being gang stalked and you're camping, and then you suddenly hear people around you that are acting a little wild, a little weird, while you're in an isolated environment, do you honestly think that this crime does not know that would make anybody feel apprehensive about, okay, who's in the area, what's going on? Well, in gang stalking is a crime that wants you to know that the props that are propped up are done through this crime, which is why they're told to act and do specific things. And a lot of the things that they're told to do, you can't prove are intentionally being done because of gang stalking. But they know the victim will recognize it. And you got to also remember, if they're propping up the props to stimulate the response, do you really believe that a victim is going to be able to prove that? The only way a victim will be able to prove that is if one of these satanic whores admit it. Oh, absolutely. All right, hold on a second. Let me light my cigarette. Hold on. It's windy out here. Ah, shit, my lighter's out. All right, give me a second. I'm going to light this cigarette. I gotta get another lighter out. See, it's so windy out right now, I can barely get the flame on the cigarette. So, check this out. So, once it got dark out on April 2nd, 2021, they were propping up intermittent sound props for me to hear, which included people talking and the way they were acting as well. The way they were acting through their talking. Now, they do these types of things to try and make you think that, okay, psychos are in the area because of how wild they're acting verbally. Okay? Now, this is done to cite fear. It's called fear injection. Okay? Then what they'll do is they'll repeat those types of things over and over and over again while also propping up sounds, like somebody's possibly walking directly towards your spot by the breaking of branches. The moving around of garbage bags, you hear that sound, they know you got garbage bags right by your tent. And the sound sounds directly right by your tent. So that would make, and you hear footsteps, so that would make anybody believe somebody is literally approaching you at fucking 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay? Now, the reason why I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning, which is now April 3rd, was because I couldn't get to sleep that night. Okay? Hold on a second. For 2 reasons. One, because a rat was trying to get into a bottle of chocolate milk that I had left outside the tent, and it was a half a gallon of chocolate milk. It was a chocolate milk container, and a rat was chewing on it for 2.5 fucking hours. Okay? And I didn't want to get up because I wasn't exactly sure what bottle he was chewing on, where it was at, and I had already heard those sounds in the environment. So I didn't want that to cause me to get up, because and unfortunately I got my, see this bag right here, that's got my USB charger headlamps in it. But it's at the very bottom, and I didn't even think about getting them out and putting it on to get up. Okay, to take that bottle he was chewing on. He chewed on it for 2.5 hours. The next day when it got light out, I got up, and it had 4 big gigantic holes in it this big. So it might have even been a raccoon. All right, hold on. But you see, that sound kept me up. So then I decided, well, okay, well, let's see how long it will take, because I didn't know he was going to do it for 2.5 hours. So I decided to stay up. He was still doing it. I threw a stick that was by my tent. He went away and then came right back. Okay, hold on. So I didn't want to get up and try and pick up whatever he was chewing on, which I didn't know what he was chewing on until the next day. I could tell it was a bottle, because I got water bottles and stuff too outside of my tent. I didn't want to get up in the pitch dark. I did not have any thought process of getting those headlamps out. See, because when I bought those headlamps, I've only used them twice and put them away for backup. My other current flashlights are handheld ones, okay? And I figured since they're already propping up props directly right by my spot, you can, look, when you go to Google and you research how these satanic bitches, hold on, my cigarette's flying away. Hold on. When you go to Google and type in how it's reported that victims of this crime have discovered people hiding underneath their windows of their homes, people hiding behind cars, people hiding behind bushes, because that's literally how bad this crime is. Okay? So you should also know they can use holosonics to make you think that somebody is right in front of your tent. Holosonics is a type of audio equipment that allows them to project sound in a direction, just like the audio spotlight. So what these fuckers do is that, doing, like, say if you are camping and you leave your wooded area to go to the grocery store, they'll come on the fucking property and they'll take a video picture of your tent, anything that's on it or around it, so they can see that you got garbage bags outside of your tent. Okay? So what they'll fucking do is they'll say, okay, we know the garbage bag is like a black garbage bag is right outside the tent, and we know that she is familiar with what type of sound that garbage bag makes, because she's interfacing with them daily, because at all my wooded areas where they've staged events at, garbage bags have been seen by cops, they've been left behind by cops. I mean, they've been left behind when I've left wooded areas, and the places I go and buy these garbage bags at, I'm being massively gang stalked at. That's fucking lootly. And what is one of the biggest methods of this fucking crime? They catalog everything. Because they take that information, they say, okay, well, we know this about him, so let's build a scheme around it, right? So they know that you got black weatherization sheets that cover your tent too. And so they are familiar with what type of sounds those sounds make. So what they do, this is literally how bad gang stalking is. So what they could do is tape record the sound of a garbage bag being ruffled about. Okay? Like during the fall when you rake leaves and you pick up a bag to put the leaves in, that sound that bag makes when you're moving it around, what these fuckers will do, could do, is tape record that sound. Okay? And tape record it in a way to where it sounds like somebody's violently interacting with it, like maybe getting into it to see if there's anything in it, right? And they tape record it and put it in and record it, and then project that sound directly in front of your tent through holosonics to make you think somebody is right in front of your tent, along with the sound of footprints coming towards your tent. Now, if you don't think, so research holosonics and gang stalking. You should also research ELF broadcasting and gang stalking, and they can even project that sound in your head through voice to skull to make you think you're hearing it right outside. Okay? Alright? So you've been tenderized once it got dark out on the 2nd. And then once it gets to be midnight, it's now the 3rd. So they keep repeating the sound props through people, the sound props of branches breaking, the sound props of people saying, what's that in there? Let's go over here. So what they're doing is they're intentionally grabbing your auditorial attention to force you hear to what you're hearing, so you think about the context of what you hear while they're propping up the sound props and while they're acting crazy intermittently as well. All right, now hold on a second. And wild. Okay, because you got to remember, other homeless people, a lot of them are involved in things they shouldn't be, if you know what I mean. Hold on. Ah, shit, my cigarette went out, so hold on a second. So you got to understand something about gang stalking. Gang stalking is about exciting brain states as well, for the sake of remote neural monitoring. Hold on. Fear injection. So this went on all fucking night concerning the sounds I heard from a distance, and once they started getting really close to me, there were actual physical people that got very close to me, within 200 feet. Okay? And then they were fucking making loud sounds that sounded like something being shook that had similar sounds to the garbage bag sound. Okay? So what you gotta understand here is that they know the people who are getting these people to do what they're told to do, and then the possible use of the holosonics, they know they're dealing with a victim who's been extremely traumatized through this crime. Staged assaults, even one staged rape, okay, and so on and so forth. So they know that the victim is reminded every day, everywhere they fucking go, that they're being gang stalked. I just went to Best Buy, this plaza over here, and caught people saying gang stalk and suck dick around me. That was predicted before I even got to Best Buy in my tape recorder. I left there and went to Domino's over here, and it was caught by people saying it who were already there before I arrived. And it's caught along all my routes, and it's caught at wooded areas, including in live Periscope videos. Okay? So that's how they remind you that you're being gang stalked. By and through a crime that's reminding you that you're still a victim of the crime. A crime that had you brutally assaulted 9 times here in San Diego and raped in Michigan. So do you honestly think that this would not engender fear in everybody? It's what they're fucking after. So while you're enduring this at 4 o'clock in the morning in the pitch dark, you all of a sudden have a thought in your head to call the cops. So now the cops know where you're at. But they'll claim through the 911 dispatcher that they don't know where you are. Hold on. Look, when you call, if you're a victim of this crime, the cops already fucking know where you're at. But you see, when you call 911, that is a recorded call. So if you call them up and you say your name is Leslie Williams and you're in a wooded area, and they say, we'll be right there, then that's going to prove they know where you're at. So then they'll repeatedly ask you, well, how are we going to come and help you if we don't know where you are? For the fucking sake of that tape record, for that recorded phone call. See, the connected partners to this crime, just like when they use ambulance services and hospitals and doctors who file all these falsified police reports. I'm sorry, doctor reports about victims. Go to Google and type in false police reports in gang stalking. Falsified arrest, falsified imprisonment. Okay? So the a huge aspect of gang stalking is playing out skits and roles in a theatrical presentation where they're saying things and doing things and playing the skit out in order to hide the intent of the event. Try proving voice to skull if it's used on you with voice to morphine. The only way you can fucking possibly prove that is that if you got an ear implant in you. Well, how are you going to prove you got an ear implant in you if the hospitals and medical centers are fucking controlled? Google that. Absolutely. Absolutely, sweethearts. So if you don't know you got an ear implant in you, I'm not saying that I do, but if you don't know that you got an ear implant in you and they're using the ear implant to use that as a conduit or at least an assisted conduit for VGK with voice morphine while you're in fear at 4 o'clock in the morning while you're hearing sounds 1 foot outside your tent, they can easily use voice to skull with voice morphine to put that thought in your idea in your head, I gotta fucking call the cops. Now the cops have a normal apparent reason to fucking know where you are on later events, including if you go missing. We found Miss Williams dead in the woods after her family or somebody connected to her family reported it to us. Reported that she was missing. So the only thing we know is that, maybe a cop will talk about it, 1 or 2 might talk about it together, that they got the police report, and then they'll come up with a normal apparent excuse concerning why they know about the 911 call. Now they know what you said on the 911 call, and then they go to that location and find you, and then they wrap it up with a bow by trying to claim that Miss Williams died because of a heart attack, a stroke, or she was involved in this, or hanging around about this person. You got to understand about gang stalking. Go to Google and type in murder and gang stalking, including through electromagnetic weapons. Go to Google and type in rape and staged rapes and robbery, and then murder and gang stalking. Go to Google and type in the police and gang stalking, then go to Google and type in voice to skull with voice morphine. See, if the cops, who you've been all over the internet exposing for over 10 fucking years, SDPD, been exposing them for nonstop for 10 fucking years. Now, if they continue to come at you at wooded areas after you predict they're going to during a staged event or in staged probable cause, it's going to look obvious to the community that you're exposing this shit to online. So then they have to mentally bait you to call the cops in order for you to tell the cops where you're at. And then if you expose that this really happened in these ways, they can then turn around and call you crazy and look for a normal apparent excuse concerning why they know where your video's at. That's a fucking lulu. But they refuse to investigate you being gangster.